Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to a very, very special episode of the Fellowship of Fans crew. I am here with Varking. Hello, sir.
Hello, hello. Very pumped to be here doing this.
Yeah, so we are starting off the first episode of Reviews from the Mark. It's a title that's a work in progress, but yeah, we are gonna talk about something very interesting tonight, something very different than what you may be used to listening us talk about. It's not Rings of Power. It's not actually even fantasy at all. It is season two of the Reacher show made by Amazon. So, Barking, Reacher, tell us something about your impressions of it, man. Let's start this off nicely.
So, just to kick us off a little bit here, one, it is a working title, folks. So, if you have a better idea for something that flows a little better for this kind of like segment show that we can call it, please in the comments help us out because we are brainstorming and reviews from the mark is what we have in this very moment. As Strider said, it's not a fantasy show, but I mean, if you've seen how swole Reacher is, I think that there's a lot of fantasies about the show, if you catch my drift. As far as my take for what Reacher is, I think the way I describe it to other people in real life, it's kind of like, do you like Top Gun and those types of movies? Because if you do, this is very much like the television. It's not about planes and stuff, but it's like the television format. It's like the same elements to it, the same type of things. Reacher is a total BA in the show, really smart guy, obviously physically imposing, but there's a group team up that's required to solve some mysteries and handle some business. And it's to me, it's a show that kind of surprised me because I'm not really into this kind of genre at all. But season one Reacher was phenomenal, and I'm through roughly 4 episodes of season two, and again, it's hitting the mark for me once again. And I think that for a lot of folks who are looking for something else to watch, while maybe War of the Rohirrim is further down and Rings of Power is not around the corner yet, Reacher, in my opinion, is definitely worth the watch. And they're not, it's 45-minute episodes, 50 minutes ish. It's something you can sit down, watch 1 or 2 episodes in a night, and then you're thinking about it the next day at work and trying to figure stuff out alongside them or beat them to the punch. It's been really, really cool. Um, and we've talked about it in chat for season one, so it's really cool that we get to now finally do like a Fellowship of Fans review for season two.
Well said. Yeah, I think yeah, Top Gun 2, specifically that level of quality and vibe, but put in a TV show. I couldn't agree more. Season one was really a lot of fun for me. I think I watched it in December. I binged this second season in like 20 hours. Like I watched two or three
Ooh.
episodes, went to bed, woke up, and just finished the show. It was so good. I also haven't been watching recently, like in recent years, shows like this. I think this action genre kind of died out a bit, but this has been really a really nice way to just like refresh that palette, like a palette cleanser with all this, all the other stuff I have been watching in recent years, and Reacher was good. Season one was really really a lot of fun. Um, Alan Richardson has been doing a really good job in the role, and the it was just fun. Like it's not going to win any Oscars. It's not going to be not Oscar, but like it's not going to win any Emmys or whatever. I mean, it might for some technical whatever, but it's just a fun show. It's like good quality. It's choreography is amazing. Story is pretty cool. Like you get what you expect, but it's all really well done. Like
I think
it's
that's the perfect way to describe it. Is it's
yeah.
just a really fun show, and there's not like a single episode where it's just all drawn out, and you're like, oh, I can't wait to get through this. There's always something going on in every episode. There's action in every episode. There's that intrigue of trying to solve something in every episode. It's just like you said, it is just a really fun show. And where other shows maybe try to be too campy or take themselves too seriously, or maybe there's too much comedy in something, Reacher just seems to have like that damn near perfect amount of each of those things
Mm.
sprinkled into every episode. Like I haven't had a single one where I'm like, this episode sucks. It's been really good and it's fun. I watch it with my girlfriend.
Yeah, that's so true. Like, I remember I also very quickly watched the first season, like also in like maybe 2 3 days, and I thought, okay, second season is probably gonna be not as good, but actually season two is as like equally good for me. I'm loving it. Like, maybe paces more or less, it went up or down, or maybe level of humor went up or down or whatever, but like on average it's the same level of quality, and it's just pure fun. Yeah, and maybe we can tackle a bit structure of the show, and like the way that the storytelling goes. In season one and in season two we had 8 episodes. All of them are 45, 50 minutes, more or less. And we have this flashbacks from the past mixed with the present day stuff happening. So I felt like that worked out pretty well. In first season, I was a bit on the edge. Will they overdo it? Because shows sometimes tend to overdo it. They tend, like there's a lot of tension being built up in the present, and then they just in the middle of like the fun stuff, they just cut to whatever some random thing happening in the past. They didn't do that in season one, and in season two, the flashback story that we are following in season two also gels pretty well. Like it's building up, the tension in both storylines, past and present, is building up in the same way, so it doesn't take you out, which I think is really cool. How did you like did you enjoy the pace so far,
I
and
do. Like I
compared to
said,
season one as well?
yeah, I don't really have an issue with pacing. I think that we had the Rotten Tomato scores up here just a little bit ago, and both critic and user score were through the roof, like over 92% for both, I think. And I'll show the season two one later, where I think the audience score dipped a little bit, but critics went even higher. And I think a lot of it was not everybody had a whole bunch of expectations of going into season one of Reacher. So it's just you turned it on and you let it surprise you and just unfold in the way that it's meant to. And it's just really enjoyable. And then I think because of how good it actually was and how much fun people had watching it, the bar for season two it was even higher. So I think some people were let down in that
Mm.
regard. I'm not one of them. I turn it on, and every episode that's on TV, it's still enjoyable for me. As you were saying with the flashbacks, I actually, when we get to our personal highlights later, I actually think the flashbacks that give you a little bit of character development for Reacher, his group, or his group, um, kind of seeing the where they were, how they bonded, and just give you a little insight to these people. To me, it helps enhance the current day story that they're telling. Like I think that they've done those really, really well for season two, especially.
Uh, can you tell me, did you get to the part with the team building event in the flashbacks?
Yes, yeah, where
The
they go
brawl.
visit another. Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. That was the first one where I was like, this is really cool. Like
Yeah, that was
that,
that was that was smooth.
and then
On his, yeah.
yeah, they're like leaned up on the car at the end, and the girl comes over with a beer for him, and they're talking, and so I think somebody asked him like, did we go there on purpose? And he's like, well, I knew they were going to be there, and I knew they're hot headed, and I knew they were
Hmm.
sticking for the rules, and we weren't supposed to be, but now I know these guys, all my guys, because of that brawl, we can work together. Like we're going to have each other's
Yeah.
back. And I was like, man, I work for an airline, but it'd be kind of cool to go just walk down the street and brawl with another airline for a little bit, and then we all celebrate back home with a couple
Yeah,
cigars.
team building is team building, like if it's efficient, it's efficient, whatever it is.
For sure.
But yeah, I think like it's hard to overstate how this show is not overdoing things. Like that scene could have been very easily overdone, but it's not. Like they, I really admire how. Again, this is not the show that's going to win any Emmys. It's not going to bring some personal catharsis to anyone. It's just pure fun, and as such, I admire the fact that they just are able to not overdo things. Like this scene, this brawl in the that place, wherever that other military company is, or wherever. And it's
Yeah,
just, you go there, you're not sure what's going to happen, and then things start happening. Then you come to this scene that you mentioned. I think it's Neely that comes to him, like, and she's
yeah,
asking, like, did you know they were going to be there? It's like two, three sentences. Reacher says like just two, three sentences, and then that's it, and it's perfectly encapsulates what he was trying to do.
yeah. No, I think, like you said, it's like a buffet of all the things you like about entertainment and television. It's you're getting just enough of everything without overdoing any one part of it. I think like you've been nailing exactly how I'm thinking.
Yeah, it's they did a really good job. Seriously. So maybe we can just jump into the characters and actors and how do we feel about all of them. Um, so we have this main crew of like four characters, including Reacher, who are researching what's happening to the rest of their crew, and we have a detective who kind of bumps heads with them a bit. So how did you get all of them? So we have Alan Richardson as Jack Reacher, Maria Stan as Francis Neely, Serinda Swan as Carla Dixon, Sean Sipos or Zipos as David O'Donnell, and Dominic Lombardozzi as Gaetano Guy Russo. So just to shorten it, Reacher, Neely, Dixon, O'Donnell, and the detective Russo. How do you like their dynamics, or how do you like it so far?
So I know everybody has to feel like a certain dynamic between Reacher and Carla Dixon, but I just the relationship between Reacher and Neely, the always gonna have each other's back. Just when their minds work together in the show and they're trying to solve the same thing or work towards something, she often beats him to the punch. They'll tell you throughout the show that she's really, really smart, and she
Yeah,
is in the show. She's incredibly intelligent, and she's really good in those types of environments. Um, I just those two have like the standout relationship for me through four-ish episodes so far. But I like Carla Dixon, and O'Donnell is another good one too. Especially he's the gentleman who ended up meeting up with them at the apartment. Like he showed up a little bit late and then joined them, or no?
sorry, he
Is he
he
like the blondish guy?
yeah, the blonde guy, yeah, that's him.
Yes, yeah. So again, he's also a stud. Most of the people in the show are very good-looking people.
Yeah,
If
of
they're
course.
if they're in the main cast, I guess that's why I'm not on it. Also the acting, but uh, that dynamic too is seeing as they go from like place to place. There's like a certain picture that they have where everybody has this picture, which I think is from the night of the brawl. It's like the drinking afterwards.
Yeah,
It's
right. It
recorded,
is right.
and everybody has it at their house or their apartment except for Reacher, which was like another way of just kind of showing how he's built a little bit differently than them. And it's cool to see, this guy who is like a frat boy type character. He's rah rah. He gets all the girls. He can say what he wants, do what he wants, and then right at the jump of season two, he's become very domesticated, as they say in the show. Like he's all about his wife, his kids. He's got like a mailing list for sending out mail during the holidays to other troops and stuff. It's a different element, different dynamic in the show that you don't get from like Reacher or Neely or Dixon. So
Mm.
I think again that's like the main 4 or 5, and they knocked it out of the park with all of them.
Yeah, absolutely agree. I think all of them. Again, one of the usual pitfalls when we have like 5 or 6 characters doing things together. Some are in the forefront, some are in the background, and those that are in the background, like it's sometimes they just you just don't really get to feel them as characters. But I feel, I mean, obviously, Reacher is the main character.
Yep.
Neely we already met in season one, so she has that advantage. But still, the rest of the new cast, you like this core group that we were just talking about, you really see the distinction. You see the different skills sets that they have. You see maybe not weaknesses, but like things that they are maybe less strong in, um, and they really make it work. And I think this is maybe one of my two favorite expectations that weren't fulfilled is I was kind of, so this is mild spoilers, but I think it's only because I was paranoid that this came as a surprise to me. I was legit expecting O'Donnell to just turn on the group for whatever reason, because that's kind of like a trope, like there's a guy, he's on your side the whole time, but plot twist, he's with the other guys. But
Yeah.
no, I
Yeah.
mean, this
Like
is a
there's
guy
that
who is,
guy who
yeah,
he always like helps you solve everything very
he's
conveniently
like
timed.
charismatic, is like, like you like him, and then
Yes.
bam, and
Yeah.
and I was I swear the whole season. I'm like, okay, is this now? Okay, see, episode 6. Okay, I think maybe now. Okay, and then we come to literally. I'm not. This is a minor thing, but I'm not gonna spoil it. Like we come
That's
to
okay.
the beginning of episode 8, and I see him where he is. I'm like, okay, he's a good guy. Like he's not gonna be the traitor in the end. So I was really
Yeah.
happy with that.
Because
I
I
was,
don't want him to be a traitor. I like his
yeah.
character. He's a fun character.
But I think I was just maybe too jaded in a way, because that's like a common trope that shows often
Oh
do.
yeah.
So I was like, please don't. Just like, can they all just be really good buddies and just protect each other, have each other's backs, and that's what we got. But for me, maybe the star of the season is Mr. Dominic Lombardozzi as Detective Russo. Again,
Okay.
if you look at the gentleman, I think there's this thing called typecasting. And again, this is probably some spoilers, but this is a cool guy. But he is not a cool guy. He looks like a guy who would be like a dirty cop working for the bad guys. He is also gonna turn your back on you when you least expect it. He's gonna, swindle you over. He's gonna shoot you in the back. He's gonna stab you in the back. He's gonna do something. He looks, like, and I think it's very cool that they cast Mr. Lombardozzi in this role, because it's a twist on it. He's not. He is this tough as nails detective who has his own vision of the world, vision of how things work, but he is trying to do a good thing. And for me, I was extremely happy with. Again, I'm not gonna. I can comment on this without spoiling this gentleman right here. Um, I was very happy with the way they handled him, and he might be my surprised, like a dark horse favorite character of the season. What do you think of him so far?
I don't think so far he's had too big of a role. So it's because I've liked all the other characters so far, hearing you talk about how well he's portrayed in this, it's kind of got me hyped that when we end this video, I was gonna do dinner, but now I'm like, I think I just need to keep going on, 2 episodes a night until I'm through. Like I'm pretty excited. Like it's really really good.
Yeah, I think he. So my two favorite things that I got disappointed, that my expectations were let down. O'Donnell wasn't a traitor, and Mr. Russo was a badass. Um, okay, well, we can move on to maybe the two main villains of the season, perhaps. So we have Ferdinand Kingsley as AM, and we
Mhm.
have Robert Patrick as Shane Langston. how do you what's your impression so far of the two of them?
Well, so through the early part of the season, for sure, you have Ferdinand Kingsley as AM. AM seems like the very smooth bad guy that people are sort of after. Like Reacher and his team feel like he's got some major involvement in Calvin Francis' death. I think they were after a hard drive, and on the hard drive, it's got just a ton of names on it. Actually, it's not too many, but every single name starts with an A, and then the last name starts with an M. So they're currently in the process of trying to crack that and figure out who this person is. Why is he a person of interest? Did he have anything to do with the murder? And when they pan to this other guy who's like going through the airport, he's very smooth in how he talks to the tellers when he's getting their tickets. He's reading a comic book at one point, so I was like, "Oh, that's cool." And he like gives it to a small child, and he talks about how, do you know why I like comics? It's because the good guys always win. So like in his head, even if he's a bad guy, in his head, he's a good guy. So he's been like the focal point sort of for the group without them knowing it for sure early on.
Mm.
And then Robert Patrick is amazing in everything, and he's made his appearances. He in the episodes I just got done watching, I think the second or third episode, Reacher and his team, not his team, Reacher and Dixon go on like a stroll out of a casino. They get jumped. They end up getting the better of the people who they fight against, and then they get this person's phone and they call it, and it's Robert Patrick as Shane Langston who picks up, and like that's sort of like the intro for them, and it's like, ooh, it's about to get good.
Yeah, I think I think Robert Patrick is really cool as Shane Langston. He's a big name. And it's though I have to say I haven't seen him in many things besides the main role of all, the biggest role of all time probably in his career, like maybe the most recognizable, in a sense,
Yeah,
the T-1000 from Terminator 2. Um, he's really cool, and I think significantly menacing as a villain, that I can be like, okay, yeah, this guy, he knows what he's doing. Yeah, look at that. Look at that smooth face. He
he's
he
just
he
a
he looks
stud
he looks like a guy who knows what he's doing.
for sure.
Uh, yeah. While on the other hand, we have Mr. AM, who it's very interesting how this turned out. I feel like um, I feel like the character of AM, he was built up throughout the whole season as this super awesome, like super tough, maybe probably the main villain and so on. And he is, but I feel that we didn't get enough uh, of him clashing with the main group. Let's say it like that. I feel like we were promised more throughout this whole build up throughout the season. So I liked the performance. I liked all these little moments that we keep seeing of him, as he's trying to get to wherever Shane Langston's character was. And as we can see, he's very resourceful. He knows what he's doing. He's very, very capable, very dangerous man, very merciless. Um, but I feel like something was missing. That might be maybe my biggest, perhaps my only gripe even with the season, that I can like specifically point towards, that we didn't get enough of or like a proper resolution maybe to all this build up with him.
Hmm.
I'm curious. I'm very curious what you will think when you reach the end of the show. Maybe with me saying this, maybe you will have a different perspective. So maybe for you it will be satisfying enough. I'm curious. I'm waiting to hear the review on that.
So I was trying to, while you were talking, I was trying to look up what else do I know this man from, because I know he's great. And I went to his IMDb real quick, and I just saw I mean, he's obviously in a ton of stuff because he is a good actor, and
Yeah.
obviously most known for Terminator. But I like superhero shows. I like James Gunn, and he did a superhero show for DC called Peacemaker. And this gentleman
Oh,
above is John Cena, Peacemaker's father, in the
oh,
show.
really? I haven't watched
And
Peacemaker yet.
minor spoilers, Peacemaker's dad, this guy, is like the White Dragon, which for those who aren't from America maybe don't know, he's like a beyond racist dad in the show. And it sounds terrible. It is terrible. But if you watch the show, he kills his performance. Like another, like, obviously he's just good in everything, but
Mm.
that's another solid acting job he did.
All right. I should really watch that Peacemaker show. All my friends and you've been saying that it's really good. Maybe I should
It's
get to that.
definitely worth a watch when you have free time.
Yeah. All right. Actually, there's one, or maybe we can get back to that a bit later. Give me just a second to check.
There's
Yeah.
one what?
So there's one bit that's one of my low-key favorite moments of the season. It's I think even in episode one. Um, so there are those people who are following Reacher and Neely, and they call him. I think for episode one, or episode two, they call Langston to say, "Hey, I got them. I located them. Reacher checked in with some baseball player, that baseball player's name,
Yeah,
and Neely checked in the name with the name of Sarah Connor, and then the guy says to Robert Patrick, "Yeah, she checked in with, and there's like a Sarah Connor here." He's like, "I don't know who the hell that is. Like, why would I care about that?" But I mean, that's the fun
yes.
because that's who he's trying to kill in Terminator 2. So I just thought that was like a neat little
No, it's an
reference
awesome
there.
nod. It's one of those things
Yeah.
that, again, we keep talking about it, but it's part of what makes the show fun. Like they're not trying to run from a funny moment, and even in universe for Reacher, it's a fake name, so it makes sense. And obviously, the Terminator is not real in their world, so going under names like that, it's just a fun little on the nose joke that if you might miss it, but if you don't, you're like, oh, dang, that's good. Good job, writers.
Yeah. They
And
just don't dwell on it. They just do it, plan this little thing, and move on. And then if you got it, you got it.
we keep talking about these characters, and I just wanted to pulse them up so you can see some. That one over there is Carla Dixon in the show, and this one over here is Frances Neely. She's the ultra smart one that everybody's like, "You're so smart," and she always shows you how smart she is for the most part. Just as like
Yeah.
a rundown of who some of the other characters are in the show.
Yeah, Neely has. I think she's like she has like street smarts. Like she's very quick on her feet. But Carla Dixon is the person who. So her specialty is numbers. So she is there to connect all these like major plot points that are happening and all this data that they keep discovering, and then she's there to basically play the. She plays the maybe the main part in connecting actually all these big puzzle pieces, and she is really cool overall. Like she has
Yeah,
her own skill set as well. Um, so yeah, these are Dixon and Neely. The one thing I feel is it's kind of a shame. Yeah, exactly. We don't really get to know that much about the other characters. So we have here we have Calvin France.
hmm
He's a part of their unit. He is the guy who apparently idolized Reacher, like really looked up to him. And his death is the thing that starts the season.
yes,
I feel like we maybe got like just enough of him, I guess, but of the other characters, there isn't time to flesh out all of them. But yeah, I think he's like the only other one that we really got something about. The others were the characters in the background. Like we got some of them, some little bits of them, enough to care about them, at least a little bit. But yeah, I think Calvin France is like the only one that got enough maybe to actually care at least a little bit. And here we
Yeah,
have O'Donnell.
and I love O'Donnell. He's
Yeah,
he's he's just awesome, man. He's very, I don't know. He just has that swagger about him that like draws you to the character. You know, maybe it's that guy in real life. I don't know, but I feel like that's the kind of personality that if I was done acting, I'd still act like that off screen, so people thought I was cool all the time.
yeah. I mean, you are cool, man. You have you if you have anything, you have the swagger.
I
Well, that's nice.
appreciate you. I appreciate you. As you're
um,
talking about, though, you know, when we're
yeah,
talking about how much screen time different characters are getting, and obviously we're a Lord of the Rings based channel, we're starting to branch out, but we're not fully there yet. But I think one of the critiques a lot of people had for season one of Rings of Power was you'd go in one episode and you'd get three different storylines, and then the next episode, it's three different storylines that have nothing to do with the previous episode storylines, and then those characters you don't see them for two episodes, and there's so many main characters that you're trying to give screen time to. It feels like an almost impossible task to give them enough screen time for everybody to be happy. And I think where Reacher succeeds is that that group isn't ultra spread out. They're around each other a lot,
mm,
so even when the characters are kind of in the background or off to the side, or there's a brawl and you're following Reacher, you're still seeing those tidbits of those other characters, so they're still getting their time. And then you have those characters like um, we were just talking about Calvin Franz, who kicks off the show. It's his death that kind of starts, you know, the spiral for everything. It's even though he's dead basically immediately in the season, you get that flashback stuff with him, and then the other characters are talking about when they're trying to crack a password. Well, who did he idolize? What was he really into? What are things he liked? What didn't he like? You know, Reacher, when he joined, you know, the platoon or the squadron or whatever, you know, how long was it before he started trying to like walk like you? How long before he started to get his haircut like you? And just all those little things that gives you enough, just enough character development from those different, you know, peripheral characters that make you feel something for them. So as things happen and things play out in the show, you feel the right type of emotion when those things happen. Or you get attached to a character so much that you are fingers crossed and praying in between every episode that they turn out to not be the bad guy because you don't want him to be the bad guy. Like that's when you know you're
right.
doing well as a show.
Yeah, really well said. And I couldn't agree more. I think that's actually a point I also wanted to raise. I think the 8 episode format that Amazon keeps focusing on doesn't work for all shows. I feel like Reacher works perfectly. I don't think that any of the episodes, as we mentioned in the beginning, I didn't feel like, they should speed up. This is dragging on. This is whatever. No, the pace is pretty much consistent. There's always a build up, there's a progression and escalation and so on through the season, but it's never going like down the hill with the tension and all that. Like there's always things happening and so on. And as you just extremely well said, um, we keep seeing bits from all these main characters, and you can follow them. But like with Rings of Power, that's my greatest fear with this show is they don't have enough time to flesh out everything. I hope that they will figure things. I hope that they have a way maybe to do it. But so far, as you said, we have some storylines here. The next episode we have storylines here. That's like already like 10, 15 characters. How are we supposed to get to care for all of them in such a limited time? It's yeah. I think it would be good if Amazon in future seasons, maybe not season two, I think it's probably too late, but in future seasons, if we can get more screen time in every season, that would be very valuable. But maybe back to the characters. We covered all of them except one special shout out from season one, the very beloved character of Detective Oscar Finley from the town, who was the detective in Margrave, the place where season one is happening. He shows up, uh, later on in the season. He doesn't have a huge role, but he has, for the time he's there, he does some really cool stuff with his screen time. So it was really nice. I was hoping, I was thinking going into the season, I knew we would be moving on. So I was like, what are the chances of us actually getting any? We're not going. How can we get any cameos without them feeling like fan service? But I feel like they tackled this in a nice way. Like he was there, he had a purpose to be there. It was short and sweet. So you haven't gotten to that part, right?
No, but again, I'm not so big on spoilers that they bother me or anything like that. But when I was originally not sure, uh, based on travel, I wasn't sure if me and my girlfriend were going to be able to start watching the show anytime soon, just because of my work schedule. And I was online and I was just doing quick little searches of different characters, and one of the first things that popped up was like Oscar Finley's cameo in Reacher explained, and there's like 4 articles about. So I knew at some point he was going to show up. I mean, it's always good to have characters like that where people can, after the season ends, you have those, the deep dives and the explanations for why characters, what does it mean, and have those like fun little conversations that you see on sites like TV Line or Looper and places like that.
Yeah, I agree. Sorry, I agree. He was. It was really good. That's how you do cameos. Like figure out the way to make it serve the story. Do not make the story serve the cameo. That's
Yeah.
how you do it. And Reacher season 2 definitely found a great way to handle that. So yay them. But I think maybe we can move on to personal highlights. So Barking, my man, can you share with us what are your favorite things so far in the show? This right here. All right.
Yeah, I
Fair,
mean,
fair enough.
it's you can't even be mad at the girlfriend when she plays on her phone and then this pops up and its eyes glued to the screen because I'm like doing it too, but I'm like, don't look too much though, like I have to make sure I'm wearing my shirt full time at the house now. I can't compete with that. Actually, for me, the thing that I really, really enjoy about the show is like the temporary campiness or like the temporary. It's just the fun. It's an unbelievable situation, but it's fun. The show starts off and Reacher's trying to be this very low profile guy in this smaller town. He's going to go get money from an ATM. And just
Right.
because of who he is, he happens to notice that the lady in front of him is moving a little bit weird. And then he like kind of leans and he sees that her hands, I think, are marked up a little bit. And he looks
Mm,
up and he sees the face is marked up, and he's just like, ma'am, I'm gonna help you out. He's like, there's that vehicle over there at the corner, the one waiting on you. And she's like, yeah. He's like, is it a carjacking? And she's like, yeah, my kid's in the back seat. And he's like, I got this. And he just walks over and wrecks this guy. And he's just like, it's it's not believable, but when you're watching it, it's not believable. Like you watch it and you're like, it's just part of how this show is. It doesn't take you out of it. It doesn't
mm.
ruin like your suspension of disbelief. It's just fun. And then there's just these different little humorous moments that they throw in. And
I
I
mean, like
find myself just
banter
over.
between O'Donnell and Reacher is a good
Yeah,
example.
and it makes me like I'm trying to get ahead of them in the show with solving different things. I'm trying to figure because I know Reacher's very intentional, and I like that. So everything he does, there's typically some sort of reason behind it, and
Mm,
I want to know what it is before they tell me. There's like a fight scene that happens, but before the fight starts, he's like walking along this place, and there's like concrete on the ground, and it's not solid yet. And he
mm,
walks right through it, and you're like, why is he walking through it? Is it because he wants the guy to know to look that way, like a taunting him, like "come find me over here"? Like it's just little things like that, where it's just fun to try to be a step ahead and then realize you really never are, And then the writing for the show, they've got you. And every time things get way too serious or it's about to, there's that humor moment that lightens it back up and reminds you that this is, there's drama, but there's also a lot of fun in the show too. And I think that they have it in bunches. But yeah, like What I'm showing above, this was after that fight that I was just talking about, actually, and there's this tension between the two of them. It's like a will they, won't they? They
Mm,
were a thing in the past, but never really a thing in the past. Like they didn't commit to each other, and now they're adults. And she's gone through like a separation or a divorce. Call off the wedding plans, and they ask the questions like, "Don't you ever get lonely, Reacher?" And it's like, "God, seal the deal, do the thing." We're all cheering for you. Get it out the way. Let's have it happen, and then the show will end up giving you what you want. And I appreciate that. I like a show that's not trying to get too smart, or take itself too seriously. I like the fan service. You give the people what they want, and then I'm sure when Kathy tunes in, she's gonna love the shipping that I'm doing on this show. But and if she hasn't watched, Kathy, you should. This is right up your alley.
yeah, I think that's a very very true thing. They tease things or they make you expect something's going to happen, but and you're like, okay, I think I know what's going to happen now, and then they find always a very clever way to give you what you thought would happen, but in a way that you didn't expect. And you're like, damn, that's cool. Like there is really a lot of clever writing, and yeah, you're totally on point. And uh, the humor is there, but it's smooth. It's not overdone. It's not overcooked. Yeah, and I appreciate that a lot. For me, some of the highlights. I mean, I mentioned already some of them. The camaraderie, as we can see on this photo, it's like you see this group of friends. This is whole other world that they live in than compared to most of us. Like for example, that scene that opens that opens season 2. I saw a reel on Instagram, and it said like that the description was, "This is what all boys dream about." Like this is what we all want to do once in a lifetime. Like figure out someone is in danger and like
Fair.
just wholesomely, like not wholesomely, but like very to be very capable to solve this issue and just save a person. Where like, this is what
Yes.
all boys dream about, and like yeah, that's it. But what we
Yeah.
also dream about is being a part of a crew, and this show really nails that. And like from the get-go you see this, and you can see it on this photo, and like the what we talked about, this brawl scene that's just before this photo is taken. It's really good stuff, and like it's kind of the show is brutal in many ways,
Yeah.
but there's a lot of wholesome in it, in a weird way that's like I like that. But some of the highlights specifically. So I liked O'Donnell's arc. I like the fact that he didn't turn out to be evil. Um, Again, shout out to Detective Russo for being a boss. I liked that character a lot. It was really cool, and like they didn't just repeat the thing from Detective Finley from season 1. They
Yeah.
did a new thing, and it was really cool. And I even have a little quote here. It's I'm not gonna say exactly who, but it's a quote from someone later in the show, and those who watched will know. It says, "People live and then they die. As long as we do both properly, there is nothing much to regret." So again, this show is not gonna win any Emmys regarding story or most emotional moments or whatever. But even in this show, that's just like this mystery action thriller with some little crumbs of a bit of dark comedy, dark humor. It has this really wholesome, kind of deep moments.
Yes.
Nothing too much, but it has like these little points where you're like, man, I kind of felt that. Like this felt good, good and kind of deep. So I enjoyed it a lot. And the other part, another highlight, is how they wrap up the season. I enjoy that very much. I like the resolution that the characters at the very end of the last episode, the way they resolve all these threads that were opened up during the season. I thought that was pretty nice, and I'm really excited about what's going to happen in season three. But do you have any maybe either highlights you want to mention, or we can maybe just move on to like just overall impressions
I
about the
think we
show?
can roll right into the overall impressions of the show. For me, I didn't really feel like season two was any sort of drop off. I also want to make it clear I'm not, I know that there's books. I'm not a book reader for anything Reacher related. I came into the
Same here.
show fresh, very much enjoyed the show. I was told that the book material for season two might not be as strong, and maybe that's reflected in the user score a little bit because there was a dip. But for me, everything that I've seen so far has continued to be great. Very positive, and just based on the things that you've been able to share during this kind of review for Reacher season two, I'm looking forward to the last four episodes even more now. And for me, there's people out there who like to do the well, this it's a 4 out of 5 or it's a 8 out of 10. For me, it comes down to did I enjoy it and would I recommend it for other people to watch? And my overall impressions are it's been highly enjoyable. And I haven't found anybody who I've actually recommended it to who came back and was like, that wasn't that good. You kind of overrated it
Mm.
a bit there. And I think it's one of those, like, it's not a sleeper hit, but Amazon hasn't advertised it as heavily, and it's done, from what I can tell, pretty good numbers.
Hmm.
And what I'm really looking forward to is if this was like not as good as season one, season three, from what I've read online, the books that's supposed to be involved with that is a supposed to be an uptick in the story. It's hard to not be even more amped up and excited to get ready to watch season three. Like I'm not even done with season two yet, and I'm already like, God, I hope there's not a long gap between two and three.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I definitely agree with that. I would. I'm also not gonna just give like a rating. I'm also just gonna describe it. For me, 3 words. I'm gonna try to describe it in 3 words. It's brutal, wholesome, fun, and that's it. Like it's just a fun TV show that's well done, that doesn't underestimate you as the viewer. It knows what it is. It's not taking itself too seriously. It's just it knows what it is and it's doing its thing. And they try to like do these little things where they put a bit of the quote I read before. Maybe it's like a bit cliche quote or whatever, but it's still like they have these little deep moments. They have these comedy moments, but overall, it's just a really fun thriller mystery that's well choreographed. Like the production is really well done. Actors, they do the job well. They know what they're doing and they do it well. Um, it's also, I think, we need more shows like this. And if because of what's on the screen now, if you all know about shows that are similar to this one, I would like to hear some recommendations because what I like about this show is it shows you that the world again, this is its own action-packed show, action-packed world and all that, but still, the point of it is the world is this dark place. There's a lot of people doing bad stuff and so on, but I think in recent years there's been a trend of like subverting all of these things and so and expectations and so on. And here we have a show where bad things happened. There are bad people doing more bad things, but we got some capable heroes here who are trying to do the right thing, trying to help out, trying to keep each other safe, trying to deliver some kind of justice. And I feel like we need shows like this. Like it's fun, heroes win, and they look great while doing it,
Yep.
both figuratively and literally, as we can see on the photo. And yeah, I think the comparison with Top Gun, but as a
Yeah.
TV show, I think that was well said. So yeah, I cannot wait for season three. This was a lot of fun. I really loved it. Um, but before we wrap up, uh, there's a little bonus detail here that we wanted to talk about. So Arfred Warking here is our local resident DC Comics expert. Myself, I also love DC Comics as well, and I'm looking forward to discussing more DC content with Warking and other Fellowship fans, folks out there in the future. But Warking, why am I talking about DC now? Do you want to tell us something about that? How does that connect to Reacher?
How does it connect to Reacher? I have no idea. I'm lost. I thought we were about to plug like the House of the Dragon actress landing a role as Supergirl for James Gunn's DCU. Why don't you lead me to water? Where are we going?
We're going somewhere with Mr. Alan Ritchson on the photo and some fan casting that we've been talking about DC because DC has cast, well, as you said, they just cast a Supergirl, but they also cast their Superman. But what is Superman without a Batman?
Yes. And there's a lot of people who would love to see. It kind of comes down to like two groups. There's the Alan Richardson group who he could be Batman, and then there's the Jensen Ackles group who wants him to be Batman. They're like the two biggest in the fandom. Another plug to DC actually is he was already in a DC
Mm,
show on HBO called Titans. He played the hero Hawk, part
Hawk.
of the group Hawk and Dove, and they had a toxic relationship that kind of worked for them. And in the show Titans, I'm not spoiling anything for you guys. It's not out anymore. He dies, and I'm pretty sure he died so that he can have this role. So shout out to DC for that one.
Actually, I'm gonna try to. I don't know if blowing your mind is maybe too strong of a term, but he was on another DC show actually before.
Uh
He played Aquaman in Smallville.
oh. Okay, you see, I was very late to the game on Smallville. Because Superman, believe it or not, has never been my thing. But Henry Cowell's performance has lightened me up to Superman a bit, and then everything James Gunn has talked about with Superman Legacy and David Cornsweet as casting as Superman, who looks like a young Henry Cavill, kind of.
Mm.
I'm much more, and I don't know if you can see it in the background, but on top of my Yellow Lantern, DC sent me this cool little Death of Superman comic book. I
Oh,
haven't read it
nice.
yet. Yeah, but nice little freebies. Nice little freebies for the folks. Where's my camera? Up here. The Death of Superman. So at some point I'll break into this as soon as they stop giving me 3 different Green Lantern comics a month that I have to get through.
You know, I'm curious. I'm looking forward to discussing James Gunn's DC universe, but and actually, I'm also in the camp of let's get Alan as Batman. I think I think it depends also on the tone this new universe will have. So I don't know if I don't think all the Batmans that we had in the past would fit, for example, in Zack Snyder's universe. Like there's a certain tone that
Yeah,
that
I know what you're saying.
people behind it are going for. So overall, I would like Alan to be. I would be quite happy with that casting. I think he has obviously the posture. I think he has this superhero jawline.
Oh yeah.
And I think basically Reacher is Batman without a suit. Like Batman is maybe that side of him has been kind of um, underrepresented in the movies so far, like in the mainstream media so far. But he is before anything else, he's a detective,
Yeah.
and that's what Reacher is doing. Like he's going around beating up criminals while solving deep crime mysteries. Like that's exactly what Batman is doing. So,
Yep. And he builds a
and
team.
yeah, and he builds a team. He adopts, broken kids and builds a team.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, there was a moment in I think it was episode 7. It's just like a very small scene, but it reminded me of like some like maybe Dark Nolan's Dark Knight moment or whatever, something like that. Like when there's this soldier running through like this dark. It's not a parking lot, but it's like some kind, let's say a parking lot. And suddenly, as he's running away from Reacher and the group, suddenly there's like lights of a car. I think it's like a Humvee or whatever, just chasing after him. And it's like this is legit a scene where there's this criminal running through the streets of Gotham, and then he
Yeah.
passes this street, and in this street, like it's like one of those little streets on the side, just lights flare up, and then Batmobile just
Yeah.
comes out and just
Batman.
starts going after him.
Yeah.
So
Perfect.
I thought that was like really a really good moment. So yeah, I just thought it'd be cool maybe to reference this because we're all both fans of DC as well, and there's
Yeah.
been a huge, a lot of voices calling for Alan to be cast as Batman. So I thought we could give a shout out to that. All right,
Alan, if you ever want to come on the channel and pitch yourself as Batman, I'll be more than happy to help you.
we are here for you.
Text me. Text me.
Just DM this good gentleman over there,
Yeah.
and we'll solve everything. Like you see, he's already got connections with DC, like the Setting
Also,
Comics. That
if you want to leak anything to us about Reacher Season 3, you can leak to us about any show you work on at Amazon or any network at info@fellowshipoffans.com. It's a quick little way. For those in our last video who reached out to info@fellowshipoffans.com, we've got a bunch of applicants who reached out that want to be a part of the team. We have seen them all, kind of brought them in the process of discussing who seems like a good fit. We will reach out to all of you who did apply. Um, but for folks on the outside who aren't interested in applying but just want to know the status, it's going very, very well. It looks like we will be able to bump up the numbers of the team, get some people in speaking roles. If you want to be in videos like this, reviewing stuff that isn't even Lord of the Rings related, and be up here with Strider and I, or maybe some of the other hosts that we have here at Fellowship of Fans, again, email us info@fellowshipoffans.com. If you guys like this type of video, want us to do more, and you've got recommendations for stuff we can watch, please leave it in the comments. And again, going back to the beginning of the episode, if you can help us come up with a cool name for these style of reviews that isn't what did we settle on just for this one? Reviews from the
reviews
mark.
from the mark,
It's not perfect. It's not perfect,
but
but
it's getting there.
we would like to get there. And if you guys would like to help us and you have suggestions for names, please, by all means, reach out in the comments on YouTube. Also, if you
Reacher
haven't,
out.
yeah, if you haven't seen it already, we have started posting shorts. We try to keep news about other things on like the shorts platform, 60 seconds or less, and it seems like they're doing pretty decent view wise. But just if you haven't noticed those, feel free to check those out. Maybe it'll be something up your alley. And if you're somebody who wants to do shorts for us, reach out at info@fellowshipoffans.com.
And people who have in the past already reached out to us regarding some leaks and news that they had in the past about Rings of Power and so on. That's also cool. And just to add to all these little infos Warking has shared with you, there's a lot of the Lord of the Rings content, or actually not just Lord of the Rings, Tolkien content that's not Rings of Power coming this way. There's a little Silmarillion podcast thing I'm cooking with Harry. We will see how that turns out, but we are very excited about this. We are going to start with the first section of the Silmarillion. So if you also have any ideas of what you want to hear us discuss while we are talking about this, those who read the Silmarillion, they know what I'm talking about. I'm not gonna go into lore, too much lore here. But if you have any ideas on what you want us to tackle in this first episode regarding this first part of the Silmarillion, tune in, send us your ideas, post questions, We're looking forward to hear all the comments, all the ideas you have for us. And yeah, Varking, do you want to sign us out?
Yeah, again, thank you guys so much for tuning in and being a part of this journey for us. We are going to try to do more videos like this. We're playing with the formatting. We don't know if we want them to go longer or be shorter, if we can find a happy medium. But really, we're just going to try to play it by ear and do it where we want to do stuff that we enjoy, but that you folks also enjoy being a part of. So if there's something that's doing really, really well or a certain field, like I think I've posted, again, going back to the shorts, two videos so far. One was about a House of the Dragon star who got cast in James Gunn's GCU. And the other one was about the finale for Percy Jackson. And in the Percy Jackson one seemed to do some pretty good numbers. So if that's something you guys are interested in, then maybe we'll talk about doing a review for the entire season of Percy Jackson and the Olympians. You let us know. And as long as we feel like it's going to be fun for us to create and you to watch, that's what we want to make happen. So again, thank you guys for tuning in. Thanks for being along with us for the journey so far, and looking forward to many more videos to come. Thanks, guys.
See you in the
Peace.
next one, folks. Cheers.